Some mysteries just kind of fade away with time, right? But then there are others that get etched into a nation's memory. Today, we're going to talk about one of those. It's one of the most haunting and honestly influential cold cases in American history. What happened to Johnny Gosch?
So this is Johnny. He was just 12 years old, a paperboy from West Des Moines, Iowa. And on this one quiet Sunday morning, way back in 1982, he went out to do his paper route and just vanished. What happened next was this insane, desperate search, a bunch of really baffling clues, and a mother's fight that would literally change how we look for missing kids forever.
All right, so here's what we're going to cover. We'll start with the morning he went missing, then look at the initial investigation, which had some serious problems. We'll touch on a scary pattern of other missing boys, a really shocking claim his mom made years later, all the conflicting stories that just made things murkier, and then we'll finish up with the incredible legacy Johnny's case left behind.
Okay, so let's dive right in. To really get what's going on here, we have to go back to that morning, September 5th, 1982. The scary part is just how fast this all went down. I mean, look at this timeline. Johnny leaves his house around 5 in the morning. An hour later, other paperboys see him at the drop spot, so we know he made it that far. But then, by 7 a.m., the phone starts ringing. Customers are calling his parents, wondering where their newspapers are. And then, less than an hour after that, his dad, John, finds his little red wagon, just sitting there on the sidewalk 2 blocks from home, still full of newspapers. Johnny was just gone. So naturally, the family calls the police right away. But as you'll see, those first few hours and days, man, the search was a mess, held back by conflicting stories and some really frustrating red tape.
Right off the bat, the eyewitness accounts were all over the place. I mean, total confusion. One paperboy said he saw Johnny talking to this stocky guy in a blue two-toned car. Okay. Then another witness, a man named John Rossi, he sees a similar thing, a guy in a blue car asking Johnny for directions, but the license plate, he couldn't remember it. Not until later, under hypnosis, when he recalled a few numbers. But then, to make it even more confusing, a neighbor says they heard a car door slam and saw a totally different car, a silver Ford Fairmont, just peeling out and speeding away. So, what are investigators supposed to do with that? It gave them almost nothing to work with.
And here's the thing that's just infuriating. Back then, police policy was, well, it was different. You often had to wait 72 hours before a kid was officially classified as a missing person. The idea was, to weed out the teenage runaways from actual abductions. But can you imagine? For Johnny's family, this meant the police didn't even show up to take their official report for almost 2 days. It just makes you wonder, right? How much crucial time was lost? What evidence just disappeared in that window?
So the fear in Des Moines really started to ramp up because Johnny's case, well, it wasn't the only one. Pretty soon, people started to see a really disturbing pattern forming.
Okay, check this out. 2 years after Johnny disappears, another paperboy, Eugene Martin, he's 13, vanishes from his route right there in Des Moines. Then, 2 years after that, another 13-year-old, Mark Allen, disappears while just walking to a friend's house. Now, the police could never officially prove they were all connected, but come on, the similarities are just chilling. It's no wonder people started getting terrified that there was a predator specifically targeting young boys in their town.
So for 15 long years, the case just went completely cold, nothing. And then, in 1997, something happened. The single most stunning, most controversial twist in this entire story came from Johnny's mother, Noreen, and it was a claim that, honestly, was almost impossible to believe.
Noreen Gosch says that one night in March of '97, she gets a knock on her door in the middle of the night. She opens it, and standing there is a 27-year-old man who she says without a doubt was her son, Johnny. And he wasn't by himself. She said he was with another man. And they talked for like an hour, maybe an hour and a half. And that conversation just turned everything she thought she knew completely on its head. According to Noreen, this man, her son, told her an absolutely horrifying story. He said he'd been abducted and then trafficked by this powerful, organized pedophile ring. He explained that once he got too old for his captors, they basically just cast him aside. And now, he was living in hiding under a totally new identity because he was terrified, not just for his own life, but for his family's safety if he ever tried to come back.
Wow. I mean, this story is just incredible, right? And it brought a huge storm of new attention to the case. But it also brought a ton of skepticism. And really sadly, a painful split right down the middle of the Gosch family. Yeah, this claim just tore the family apart. Noreen, to this day, has never, ever wavered. She is 100% convinced that man was her son. But her ex-husband, Johnny's dad, John, he's been public about his doubts. He's said he's not even sure the visit actually happened, and he's even wondered out loud if maybe it was some cruel imposter. It's just a tragic side of these cases, isn't it? The trauma of not knowing can send people in completely different directions, some towards hope and belief, and others towards skepticism.
And as if that wasn't enough, the family's pain was also taken advantage of by some truly awful people. Take this, for example. In 1985, this guy, Robert Meyer, he actually contacts the family and claims Johnny is with a motorcycle club and he can get him back for $100,000. It was a total lie, just a heartless scam to make money off their nightmare. Thankfully, the FBI caught him at the Canadian border and he was convicted of fraud.
So it's really important to be clear about the official side of this. No matter how certain Noreen is, and believe me, she has worked tirelessly to investigate these claims, law enforcement has never, ever found a single piece of evidence to back up her story about that 1997 visit. They can't confirm who that man was or if he was there at all. Officially, her account is still unconfirmed.
But here's the thing. While the mystery of what actually happened to Johnny is still unsolved, the impact his disappearance had on the entire country is absolutely undeniable. His case, tragically, became this huge catalyst for change.
Noreen Gosch took all of that grief and pain and turned it into action. It's incredible. She started the Johnny Gosch Foundation and just lobbied relentlessly, and it worked. It led to the Johnny Gosch bill in Iowa, which got rid of that insane 72-hour waiting period. It forced police to respond immediately when a child was reported missing. And that idea? It spread like wildfire. States all over the country passed similar laws. And of course, Johnny's picture became one of the very first faces you'd see on the side of a milk carton, a campaign that literally brought the faces of missing children into millions of homes every single morning.
And Noreen's fight went all the way to the top. I mean, she actually testified before the U.S. Senate. And after that, the federal government put up $10 million to help start the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, NCMEC. That organization has helped find and rescue hundreds of thousands of kids since it was founded, all starting from her fight.
So at the end of the day, we're left with this really painful split. On one hand, you have a family that still, after all these years, has no real answers. You have a case file that's colder than cold. But on the other hand, the disappearance of this one little boy sparked a complete revolution in child safety, a revolution that has, without a doubt, protected countless other kids. So what is the true legacy of Johnny Gosch? It's both. It's a heartbreaking, unanswered question and a powerful, undeniable force for change.